Raven made the world and the waters with beats of his wings. He had the powers of both a man and a bird, and could change from one to the other simply by pulling his beak above his head, as one lifts up a mask. His earth was dark and silent. He had created water and mountains, and had filled the land with growing pea-pod plants. It was in time when there were no people on the earth. On the 5th day, the first man stretched out his feet and burst from the pod, falling to the ground, where he stood up, a fully grown man. He looked about him, and then moved his hands and arms, his neck and legs, and examined himself curiously. After a while, he had an unpleasant feeling in his stomach. He had stopped down to take some water into his mouth from a small pool. The water ran down into his stomach, and he felt better. When he looked up again, he saw approaching, with a waving motion, a dark object which came on until just in front of him, when it stopped and, standing on the ground, looked at him. This was a raven, and as soon as it stopped, it raised one of its wings and pushed up his beak, like a mask, to the top of his head, and stared at the man. And after it was raised, he stared more than ever, moving about from side to side to obtain a better view. At last he said, "What are you? From where did you come from? I have never seen anything like you." Then Raven looked at man, and was still more surprised to find this strange new being was so much like himself in shape. Then Raven told man to walk away a few steps, and in astonishment exclaimed again, "From where did you come? I have never seen anything like you before." To this, man replied, "I came from the pea pod," and he pointed to the plant from which he came. "Ah," exclaimed Raven, "I made that vine, but did not know that anything like you would ever come from it. Now wait for me here." Then he drew down the mask over his face, changing again into a bird, and flew far up into the sky, where he disappeared. Man waited where he had been left until the 4th day, when Raven returned, bringing 4 berries in his claws. Pushing up his mask, Raven became a man again, and held out 2 salmon berries and 2 heath berries, saying, "Here is what I have made for you to eat. I also wish them to be plentiful over the earth. Now eat them." Man took the berries and placed them in his mouth, one after the other, and they satisfied his hunger. Raven then led man to a small creek nearby, and left him while he went to the water's edge and molded a couple of pieces of clay into the form of a pair of mountain sheep, which he held in his hand, and when they became dry, he called man to show him what he had done. Man thought that they were very pretty, and Raven told him to close his eyes. As soon as man's eyes were closed, Raven drew down his mask, and waved his wings 4 times over the images, when they became endowed with life, and bounded away as full-grown mountain sheep. Raven went on making fish, birds, and other animals, and waved his wings over each one to bring life into it. Each one he put some place out of man's reach, so he wouldn't kill them all, the fish in the rivers, and the birds in the air. Already Raven could see other men growing in pea pods, and they were soon going to emerge hungry too. Raven created a huge bear from the same clay, to make sure man had something to fear. After a few days, Raven noticed that man was lonely. Raven went off to a quiet corner of the earth where man couldn't see what he was doing. He started building a figure out of clay. It looked like man, but was smaller and softer. Raven brushed his wings over the new figure, and the lovely being sat up and looked at man. "This is woman, your helper and companion," said Raven. Man was very pleased. Together they populated the earth with their children, and before long, Raven's earth filled with the sound of many voices, and overflowing with many forms of life.